You are now tuning in to the magical storytelling by Dala with I Create Stories. You can go to azbubbly.com to get plugged in and experience electrifying stories every weekend. Okay, headphones on, life off, and let's go for a ride. A soft-spoken homemaker, Tanya had never felt so emotionally afraid before, sitting there with worn, heavy eyes. On the right side was Joshua, her strong, handsome, hard-working man, worried with unbelief. On the other side was their young son, Alex, a jubilant 10-year-old who was now afraid. They could not understand. "Baby, what are we going to do?" Tanya asked in a dragging voice. A gun clocks back with no response, heavy breaths and reddish eyes. Josh sat on the edge of the bed with a .22. Tanya closed her eyes for a second and opened them fast. There was no way in hell she was going to rest. The late night called for quiet souls, but not for them. They were exhausted, and the sinister screeches echoed in the house made it more impossible. See, Tanya woke up infused in fear the other night, drenched in sweat from ear to ear. She believed it was from a monstrous dream, a dreadful illusion all three had experienced. There in their minds was stillness when they felt each other's skin and envisioned the same things, but they woke up in a confused state of consciousness. They were dead frightened, bewailed, asking themselves what was that thing that kept them in a fearful state of being under some kind of spell, making it hard to come back. It transformed into suspicious forms and horrific monsters, disguising itself to fool and mislead the three souls. They sprinted through the misty mindscape, stopping periodically to take in their surroundings and pray that the pursuit was over. But alas, the blurry phantom chased them until they had nowhere to go. Trapped and terrified, harsh winds blew in, and it was upon them. Alex yelled out as the swaying figure pounced on him effortlessly, attempting to consume him. The faceless entity covered his body while Tanya and Josh fought through ghostly air to find Alex, pulling, swinging, and reaching to no avail. The dark creature was toying with them and suddenly decided to disappear so they could escape, only to be faced with it again. A fierce gust of foul wind soon assailed Josh. He could not repel the unstoppable entity, no matter how much effort he expended. They were in a state of constant struggle and terror, running and seeking shelter only to be discovered again and again. It reappeared scarier and more vicious after each pursuit. What did it want? Why was it chasing them? Were the desperate questions in the back of their scattered thoughts. In a mental space, Tanya's urging voice, "Just wake up, it's just a dream," helped her to forcibly open her eyes, lying there, perspiring with a fast, rapid heartbeat. Josh suddenly jolted off the pillow out of the deadly sleep, ready for a fight. Their son came running into their room, crying and petrified. With the deep, distorted emotions, they stared at each other. She turned to Josh and asked him, "Did you—" Before she could finish the question, he asked her, "Did you just—" Before he finished, Alex burst out talking about his bad dream too. They were alarmed over what had happened. How could it be? How could they all have had the same dream? Her son asked in a hurtful tone, "Mommy, what was that? Why was it trying to get us?" Tanya didn't have a clue, so she couldn't respond. Was there something they were missing? Was there something they did wrong to deserve a night of mares? What an intense, mind-blowing episode that left them panicking and questioning the theory behind dreams versus realities. They knew it felt too real to be any delusion. The standard perspective is if you can feel it, it must be real. They sat there that morning in confusion, trying to come up with any explanation that can make some sense, but nothing added up correctly. There were many questions with no true answers. Except for whatever it was always changing to trick and trap them. Their day went on, never letting up on their fears, never felt content and fully woke. However, as night approached, their bodies started to show signs of tiredness. They worried as the deteriorating thoughts of what happened earlier began to settle in. Alex indicated he was too frightened to fall back asleep, and he wasn't the only one. Tanya was terrified, and Josh did not readily admit his fear. Nothing less, they all understood that staying awake throughout the night would be challenging. So, in a radical position, Josh devised a plan, just in case they were having another erratic dream out of nowhere. This is what's up. If or when that thing starts to come for us, we will all dream that we are in our house, in this room, okay? Josh explained. Don't worry, baby. It will be okay. Everything will be fine, he said while holding a roll of masking tape. Tanya looked confused as she got in bed. Of course, Alex refused to sleep by himself, so he got comfortable on the other side of his mom in an effort to stay awake. However, the little one soon drifted off. It was just Tanya and Josh talking and watching over their innocent child, until Josh soon mumbled his last few words. Baby, get some sleep. I'm tired. I'm falling. But she couldn't, not until she knew what all of it meant and why it happened. Then her religious beliefs were called into question, and she asked, Why, God? Why? While she lay there in the middle of them sleeping, her eyes got heavy and her body weaker. It was a battle to keep her eyes open, but there was no hope. They dropped once, and she was dozing. But she could force them back open. However, her body was too relaxed. Her eyes were weighted down, and she couldn't naturally react to Alex and Josh flinching in the bed. In a weak position, she was mentally able to converse and whisper out the words, Please, God, help us, before her eyes unwillingly shut. Tanya was now somewhere unfamiliar when she heard a scream. It was her son Alex running and crying out for help, and over to one side stood Josh, the size of a mighty giant. Mommy, there it is! It's coming! Alex yelled as he ran to Tanya, ecstatically with hard breaths. Her vision was a little blurry. She didn't see anything at first, but as she continued to stare, she saw it. It was humongous, and the most enormous gray whale, as big as a cruise ship, with substantial protruding razor teeth and dark, deep, terrifying eyes. It was coming. The whale's mouth opened and shut, extending wide enough to swallow a house. It floated about featherweight, heading right towards them. However, there waiting for it was Josh. Josh yelled at his loved ones to run away, but Tanya couldn't move. She was frozen and deeply afraid when the whale's mouth opened with teeth aimed at her. Right before they were eaten alive, Josh grabbed a hold of the whale and they were wrestling in the mid-air. His powerful grip made it hard for the whale beast to escape. It turned wild, moving, careless, bursting out mad sounds. Josh's voice was heard with a profound echoing effect. Hurry! Think we're back in the house! Their thoughts delivered them instantly into their upstairs bedroom. Only then, somehow, Josh and the ferocious whale stood as tall as an endless room. Alex and Tanya were rushed out of the way of the fighting and tussling. Josh was determined not to dare let go of the killer of a whale while they broke and destroyed objects. While he restrained it, he pulled out some masking tape and then struggled to tape its mouth. The house was crumbling as the whale got stronger, puncturing walls and throwing them both through a hallway rail. From above, Tanya and her son watched, tremendously worried, unsteady on their feet. They flinched hard when the tail whipped Josh into a wall. He lay there momentarily in a faint position while the angry whale rolled around. Josh suddenly gained strength in allowing him to pin it down long enough to tape one end of its body to the other. Then he tossed the whale through the house, destroying whatever was left. The three fanned the smoke-filled air to see the outcome. However, there was no monster to be found. In the confusion and deep breaths, they awakened in bed with no words, just warm touches and loud energy. They were sweaty and anxious but felt safer in the lighter world until they learned of their wrecked home. Loud whale sounds penetrated their stressed souls, and Josh went for his gun.